It has been more than a month since I last talked to you guys. It was so not what I was expecting.
And then occasionally there'll just be a scene where they just all get attacked by like these robotic alligators.
I went into this video wanting to find books that were like my favorite book, The Starless Sea, which I failed at. Hello everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video, another reading vlog video. As you guys can tell from the title of this video, I am going to be reading books that have been compared to my favorite book of all time, favorite book of this year, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I was actually inspired by somebody, and I can't remember the name of it. Let me look this up and I will show you. So it is inspired by Jocelyn Reed's, her video that she released on May 11th. It's called Reading Books That Are Compared to My Fave, Aquamath. And I was like, that's really fun. I actually think that idea is kind of cool. All right, so when I went on this expedition to find the books similar to The Starless Sea, I found a page curated by Penguin specifically that had a whole bunch on it, but once I actually went through it and read a little bit more of the descriptions of the books, I personally didn't really feel like they would have the same vibe that I was looking for. So, you know, The Starless Sea, what I loved most about this book, I loved so many things about this, as it is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book of all time. What I loved most was the feeling of like losing yourself slowly in a beautiful world, and I just wanted it to give me that all-encompassing slow sink into a sea of honey kind of feeling. I was kind of looking for that. Also, if it had the library aspect to it, even better, because this is like an underground library kind of thing. So when I was looking at that Penguin thing, I just wasn't that intrigued by the premises, and their ratings were really low and people's reviews were really low, that they expected more. So I decided to keep searching, but I kept them on my list in case. The first one that I'm gonna talk about is the Ask Metafilter one, which was kind of to me like a little bit of a Reddit thing, where people were just like, I just finished, it says right at the top, I just finished Erin Morgenstern's The Starless Sea, and it gave me such a cozy, warm feeling at all times and a lot of magical wonder and complexity. There have been other books that made me feel this way, and so this person gives you like a few books, gave them that same feeling, which was kind of nice because that automatically recommended me a few. And then they said things I like: when characters find a world of delightful comforts with delicious foods and beautiful surroundings, playful writing style, fantastical elements set in realistic settings. This was exactly what I was looking for. This person, whoever they are, spoke it directly. The person who answered first said, "The 13th Tale, The Snow Child, Carry On, The Sorcerer to the Crown, and Uprooted and Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik." And then there was a lot of recommendations of The 10,000 Doors of January, which I have already read. And then, of course, The Night Circus, which is Erin Morgenstern's other book. So from there, I continued my search. Then I found this website called the Richland Library, and again, it was more of like a blog posty type thing where they suggested books for me to read that are like The Starless Sea, and I knew that I was on the right track with this one. The first two books, they are about libraries, and I was like, this is perfect, we're on the list. And then they also had The 10,000 Doors of January, which I think is a really good comparable book as well, and The Night Circus. And they also had Uprooted by Naomi Novik on this as well, and another Diane Setterfeld, her other book, Once Upon a River. So with all of these books in mind, I picked 4 books that I'm going to read because they have been compared to The Starless Sea, and I'm going to see by the end of this how they actually compare. So these are the 4 books that I'm going to be reading. The very first one, because Diane Setterfeld was mentioned many, many, many times, was The 13th Tale. I had this previously. It, I believe, is a mystery, but I've also heard that Diane Setterfeld's writing just kind of has a magical storytelling element to it. So that is why I picked this one. The next 2 are the first 2 from this Richland Library website, and that is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman and The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. And then of course the last one is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So all of these books I am very excited to read. I'm going to treat this kind of as a reading blog, but also a discussion, so that'll be at the end of this video. So if you want to go skip right to that and skip over all the reading blog stuff, go to this timestamp here, and it'll take you right there. The first book that I'm going to read for this experiment is going to be The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. So this one is about Claire, who is named the head librarian of a special library in hell where all the unfinished works go, like unfinished stories by authors. Her job consists mainly of repairing and organizing books, but also keeping an eye on restless stories that risk materializing as characters and escaping the library. When a hero escapes from his book and goes in search of its author, Claire must track and capture him with the help of former muse and current assistant Brevity and the nervous and sweet demon Leto. We have a library in hell with stories that are kind of magical and like characters that come out of stories, so I'm expecting to enjoy this a lot. So let's get to reading. Hello. So it has been more than a month since I last talked to you guys, since I picked up the first book, which is The Library of the Unwritten. We're not starting off on a good mark, you guys. I have been this far into this book since July 20th. It is now August 27th. I've had my hair cut. I have read at least 25 books between now and then. You guys, I have to DNF this one. I just can't get through it. I cannot get through it. I'm not interested in it. So, okay. First book of this video is a huge fail. Huge fail! And I've had so much faith in this one. It's just not grabbing me. Maybe one day I'll come back to it, but as of right now, I'm gonna leave this alone because I wanted this video to go up early August and I haven't read any of the books for it. So we're gonna leave that one, and that one's gonna be marked as a fail because it did not give me those vibes that the Starless Sea is giving me. I just want a book that feels like I'm wrapping myself in a warm blanket or falling into a sea of honey. I just want that feeling, you know? The next book that I'm going to read for this video, I'm not going to do the other library one yet because I feel like I need to completely distance myself from libraries in specific. I'm going to read The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfeld, and I really hope I like this one. I have heard very little about it, but I also get the vibes that it's kind of a mystery, a little bit, and I'm excited about this. So this is what we're gonna read next. I will update you once I get halfway through to tell you my feelings, and hopefully I can read faster than that one. Hello friends, it's me just a few days later. I am here with an update for The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfeld. I fully intended to update you at the halfway mark. I ended up just being enveloped in the story last night. So far, I will say the beginning, I was sitting in my lovely couch just listening to the audiobook as I was reading this, and I was like, wow, okay, this has the feeling that the Starless Sea gave me. It just feels like you're wrapped in a literary hug, and I was just loving it. We get to the part where our main character, Margaret, she starts to interview Vida Winter on her life. So it kind of feels like if you took Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and mashed it together with the Starless Sea, which is kind of fun. It's the same kind of deal where like Vida Winter just refuses to give a proper interview. She's now like dying. She said that to Margaret. She's dying, so she wants to tell the truth finally on like her life and whatever. Margaret is a like amateur biographer, so she's said yes and she's enthralled by the story. But right now it feels like Jane Eyre. It is gothic. It is creepy. It feels cold, like fall time cold, and I'm just living for it. So it's not entirely like the Starless Sea. It doesn't have the same like flavor as the Starless Sea does with the story, at least, but the feeling that it gives is pretty close in some respects. As I said, the beginning feels like just a literary hug, but the Starless Sea is not gothic. It is not like the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So we'll see how the last chunk of this book goes, how it feels, but I am loving this book a lot. It's so atmospheric and incredible, and the story that Vida Winter is telling is creepy. And we've just got like elements that are very similar to Jane Eyre in here. I'm loving this a lot. Is it like the Starless Sea? No. I'm going to finish this and report back and then start the next one. Hey friends, it is now a fair few days later. It is now what, September 4th? September 4th, and I've finished The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I realized that I've been saying her name wrong in like all my recent videos. Setterfield, that is her name. And this was sublime. This book, oh my god. So I stand by what I previously said in this video, that it is not like the Starless Sea in like any capacity. We don't have like doors and mysterious people and like an underground world. But this just has such an enveloping, warm feeling to it that I just, oh yeah, first part of it felt like a hug. It is the same kind of feeling that I had when I was reading the Starless Sea. This is exactly what I was looking for. And then by the end of it, it felt like I was reading a combination of Jane Eyre and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and The Starless Sea and a little bit of The Forgotten Garden, which is a book that I absolutely adore as well. And I had forgotten about it until I read this one, and I was like, that reminds me of that book a little bit. Like, it's just the feeling of it. I'm torn between a 4.5 and a 5 star because the ending actually surprised me a lot more than I thought it was going to. There were a few things that I was like, I bet that this is what is going to happen, or this is what has happened. And I was right, but it was laid out in a way that you were figuring out the mystery just as Margaret was. And that was really cool. But there's something that happens at the end, like the big reveal. It was so not what I was expecting that I kind of felt a little bitter about it for a little while, but I don't know, it was just so good. Oh, so good. So that was a much better read than the first one that I didn't even finish. And we have already succeeded because I was looking for a book that gave me a feeling that the Starless Sea does. I'm not looking for a book specifically like the Starless Sea. I'm looking for that feeling again. And this one gave it to me, which is amazing. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up next. We shall see. Hello, my lovely friends. It has been a while. For me, at least. It is officially 2021, January 9th, and I'm finally hopping back in with an update. I am currently reading The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. This book is batshit crazy. There's so much going on. I don't even know how to describe it other than it's got the vibes of like an underground library, except it deals with parallel worlds. And so many so that they have like an alphabetized and numerized system to keep track of them all, which is so interesting. In this library that's called the Invisible Library, they exist in between all these worlds, and they take books and stories from these worlds to protect them, which is such an interesting thing. And at the beginning of this story, we have our main character, Irene, who gets given a task to go on a mission with a student, I guess, like an assistant, to get this book. And she doesn't really know much about it, which is suspicious to her. But she, like, kind of digs a little bit, finds more information, and they go to this London, which is a variant of a Victorian London that has a little bit of magic and a little bit of technology that kind of interconnects. There are fairies, there are vampires, there are werewolves in this world. So, like, I can wrap my head around all that. And then occasionally there'll just be a scene where they just all get attacked by, like, these robotic alligators. And I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. And there's, like, these beings in here that are called dragons, and they look like dragons. And they have, like, this all-being power over everything. They are agents of balance, where fae are agents of chaos. but these beings that are dragons can also appear as like humanoids. So there's just so much happening in this story right now. I intended to do an update earlier. I'm currently on page 210 and I have this much left to go. There are no similar vibes to the Starless Sea. The only similar thing is the library, and that's it. That's the only similar thing. There's no, like, the tone is completely different, the writing style is completely different, there's a gazillion things happening at this, like, I'm reading it feeling like there's like, I'm in a cyclone of color, it's wild, whereas, like, the Starless Sea is just so lovely and soft and calm. In that respect, this one is failing. If I end up liking this, I'll let you guys know, but as of right now, I have no idea what to think of it, so there is that. But after this, there's only one book left on this list, and that is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I will update you guys when I'm done The Invisible Library, and then when I'm starting Spinning Silver, and hopefully that'll be soon. Hopefully that'll be soon, and I'm not going to stretch this video out much more than I already have. So I will catch up with you then. Hey friends, it is now the next day. I am here in my library to give you an update on The Invisible Library. This book was, as I said yesterday, batshit crazy. And I don't know how to feel about it, so I'm giving it a day to just like wrap my head around it, but basically this is nothing like the Starless Sea. If the Starless Sea goes at like 25% speed, this goes at 300% speed. It was really entertaining, and I low-key love it. But it is not what I was looking for in this video at all. This was wild, and if you're looking for something that deals with just all sorts of magic, all at once, parallel universes, dragons, and werewolves and vampires, and librarian spies and detectives, basically, this is for you. It is wild. It is wild. And I low-key want to get the next books because this seems like it's gonna be a really, really fun series. So there is that. I am now done this one. And I think at the end of this video I'm gonna be doing like this whole big wrap-up of like everything and what I've found throughout my months and months of reading. But there's that one. And I now have one left. Hello friends! It is now, I don't even know, like the 11th of January, and I'm coming at you with an update at the end of this video because I officially finished Spinning Silver last night. I read it all. I read this entire 400 and some page book in one sitting. I had the audiobook, I was enjoying myself immensely, and I was committed. I went into this video wanting to find books that were like my favorite book, The Starless Sea, which I failed at if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, because I remember saying at the very beginning of this when I was going through all of those like lists and things, I was looking for a book that gave me the same feeling as this one, and I found that in like one of the books, and I found similarities in the other ones, but none of them were really like The Starless Sea. So was this a failed experiment to do for over 6 months? Yes. Did I still read some pretty good books? Also yes. I started off this video with a little bit of a bad one. I DNF'd the Library of the Unwritten after it took me a month to get to the halfway point, and I was just not interested. I didn't want to pick it up. There was nothing about it that interested me. But this one, if you're looking for something that has a library in an other world, 2 hours, kind of like the Starless Sea has with the library underneath the world, this one has a library in hell, and it deals with angels and demons and magical creatures. Then I decided to pick up The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, and I'm so glad I picked this one up because this one was one of my surprise favorites of the year. I absolutely adored this one, and this one was the one that came the closest to giving me the same feeling that The Starless Sea did. It is not the same concept or structure as The Starless Sea. Like, as I've said a million times in a million videos, this is a Jane Eyre meets The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo type of book. But it did give me that same cozy feeling that that one gave me, which is what I was kind of looking for at the beginning of this. So there's that. And I did give this one like 5 stars. Then I went and I picked up The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman, or Genevieve Cogman, I guess would probably be the way to say that. And this one was just absolutely batshit crazy. It did not have the vibe of the Starless Sea. It didn't even come close to it. It dealt with parallel universes and a library which exists in between them all, which is really cool and does call to the parallel universe kind of aspect with the doors to the Starless Sea like this one does. It's not even close to my favorite book. Not even close. I don't know why anyone would recommend this other than the library. If you're looking for something that isn't slow-paced and isn't flowery and mixed with a million other stories, go with this one, because this follows one storyline and it is chock full of weird. It honestly, like, the suspension of disbelief in this one is, you have to really give her, because this world that they're in is just nuts. Like, it is a Victorian London, but with kind of modern touches, with like zeppelins in the sky and that kind of a thing, but also with like magic and fae and vampires and werewolves, and also like these secret societies that are trying to take down each other, and there's like alligators being controlled by technology, and occasionally like a giant like millipede or centipede will come through the ground and start attacking them. Like, so definitely nothing like the Starless Sea. The only aspect that matches is the library, and we don't even get to see the library much. Like, that's only at the very beginning, and then at the very end we don't even get to see the library. We ended this video with Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This one wasn't exactly the one that was always mentioned. It was Uprooted or this one, so just generally her fairy tale-esque retellings that she does, and I really enjoyed this book. It was very good. Very, very good. I have yet to settle on a rating for this one, but it just feels like a fairy tale, which is so crazy to me, but it's nothing like the Starless Sea at all. Like, it deals with a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, and it's set in like Russia, and we have deep, deep cold. It was great, but it didn't really give me any of those cozy vibes. It was honestly really slow up until the 200-page mark. I knew it was happening, but it was just a girl going around being a moneylender and like hiring this other girl, and then once she starts getting asked by the like fae winter ice king to change silver into gold, that's when things start to pick up, and that doesn't happen until like the 200-page mark almost. Like, it's slow. It is definitely a slow book, and maybe that's why people find it similar to the Starless Sea, because it is quite slow until you get really into it. This one was an interesting choice to compare it to the Starless Sea. I don't know why people thought it was. In all honesty, it is more like The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden than anything else. These two, so similar. And this was actually another one. I brought some other books that I have already previously read that were compared to the Starless Sea as I was going through this, and if you guys want recommendations, I guess that's kind of what I'm here for. So none of these really work except for the 13th Tale. That one was close. Didn't have at all the same like story or vibes or anything, like no school, no underground library or anything, but it did have that cozy vibe that I was looking for. There's that. If you're looking for libraries, go for The Invisible Library or the Library of the Unwritten, that one. Parallel universes and libraries, go for that one. Another one, if you're looking for parallel universes, go for the 10,000 Doors of January. This also has the door aspect that the Starless Sea has, and it like takes you to other worlds, and it is quite beautiful. And this one was the top one that was recommended. If you're looking for more of the fairy tale-esque type of story, go for one of these, The Bear and the Nightingale or Spinning Silver. They are fairy tales, and they are like Russian fairy tales, but they're very, very cold. So if you're looking for just a fairy tale story that kind of gives you that comfort, or really, really super atmospheric, go for these. And if you're looking for something that is probably the closest vibe to the Starless Sea, you really can't go wrong with The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It is her other book. It's her first book. and it has that same vibe to it. It doesn't have like a library or anything, but it deals with a circus and two people who are magicians, and they've been like locked in this battle by their patrons. Basically it's a battle to the death, and it's very beautiful, and it deals with love and all that kind of stuff. So this is beautiful, and it definitely carries that flowery soft writing that Erin Morgenstern has. Definitely read this one if you're looking for that. If you're just looking for libraries in general, as well as that one and that one, go with this one, Sorcery of Thorns. I didn't like this one. I didn't think the plot was whack to me, but it was also compared to the Starless Sea because of the libraries and the grimoires and that kind of stuff. So those are all the books that I've read for this video, and the books that I've read previously that also kind of work as comparisons to my favorite book, which is the Starless Sea. I have 3 others here that have come into my life after this video has really started and got going, and they are possibilities for giving me the same feeling that this one does. The first one is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's a library that's basically acting like a limbo space between life and death that our main character goes to when she attempts suicide, and she sees all these different outcomes. Like all these books basically tell her these different outcomes if she had made different choices in her life. So I have a feeling that this might give me that like just slow introspective vibe that this one gave me. I also have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which doesn't really deal with libraries, but it deals with time, and it feels very expansive because we have 2 different timelines, and I've heard from a lot of people that this is quite slow and nothing like what the usual books that she writes. So I have this inkling in my heart and soul that is going to be like the Starless Sea in the vibe that it gives off. And then we have also The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón, which I don't know a whole lot about. I just know that it is about a book and a boy. This boy trying to find this book. He tries to find the author's other works, except someone has been systematically destroying every copy of every book this person has written. He has the last book of his in existence, so he's like trying to figure out why that is. That to me feels quite like the Starless Sea. Really, my one takeaway from this is that if I'm looking for something like the Starless Sea, I can't really go high fantasy like these ones are, or I can't really go looking directly for libraries or other worlds and stuff like that. I have to go for like more literary, calm, mysterious almost, like that one, or possibly a little bit more expansive like this one. Not entirely sure. But yes, my friends, we have finally reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I failed this experiment, I guess. I didn't really fail because I did read them all, or try to read them all, but none of these really matched exactly except for the 13th Tale. None of them really were what I was looking for in a recommendation for someone who loves the Starless Sea. So hopefully maybe one of these will get me there. I hope you enjoyed either way. If you guys have any recommendations for books that you think might fit this prompt, please let me know down below, because I will search them out and read them. And if you guys kind of want to have like an updated version of this, maybe at the end of the year, let me know, where I kind of say if any of these matched it or not. Let me know. This was reading books that were recommended based off of my favorite book. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around this entire time, leave me a little book stack emoji down in the comments. I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.